Well, that brings us to Halloween. This is, like Christmas, a great example of these two worlds that I'm talking about. To most people, not least in the United States, but wider afield down, Halloween is a bit of fun. It's when kids go around the doors, trick and treating, and they dress up as ghosts and monsters, and you have this apple bobbing and all this other stuff that goes on. And in the United States, it's become the second most profitable festival in the year, second only to Christmas in the amount of money that's generated. But Christmas and Halloween have a much deeper significance, and certainly so to this hidden hand, this other world of interbreeding bloodlines and their gophers that are manipulating world events and have been doing so for literally thousands of years. Christmas, for instance, is really Saturnalia. Saturnalia was a festival in ancient Rome during the Roman Empire, in the run-up to what we now call Christmas. They gave each other presents at this time. They decorated trees. They hung holly, a sacred plant tree to Saturn. And Saturn was the great god of Rome, hence Saturnalia. This was a festival to the god Saturn. And like so many other pagan festivals, Christianity, when it came along, which of course came out of Rome, they decided that they could get new recruits easier. Well, this is one reason for it. There are others. If they just took over the pagan festivals and called them a different name. So eventually Saturnalia became our Christmas. But to this other world of these bloodlines and the world of Satanists, which these bloodlines are in their inner circle, Christmas is still Saturnalia. It's still a time of human sacrifice. And so Christmas is a time when the Satanists and these bloodlines do their rituals, including human sacrifice. And then, not least the sacrifice of children, by the way. And then we come to Halloween. This is the ancient Celtic and Druid festival. Druids, of course, the priestly class of the Celts. And they had a festival on November the 1st called Samhain. And the night before was basically the Night of the Dead. And they engaged once again in human sacrifice on one heck of a scale. And then, of course, Christianity came along. And as with Christmas, it hijacked Samhain and called November the 1st All Saints' Day. And the night before became known as All Hallows. I've seen it some places as All Hallows Eve, which morphed into what we today call Halloween. And Halloween, in the days of the Celts, was a great time of human sacrifice. And of course, humanity reached a point where this was no longer acceptable. that you could not openly do these human sacrifices as part of your culture. But it didn't stop. When it became unacceptable to do it in the open, it went underground and has continued ever since in the networks of Satanism and the elite bloodline families who are actually the force in the end behind Satanism. Satanism, where they worship their unseen, malevolent, demonic, quote, gods. And they sacrifice to these gods. And, you know, we have this theme where the ancients used to sacrifice young virgins to the gods. Young virgins is just code, symbolism for children. And Halloween, while kids around, particularly the Western world, are engaging in trick-or-treating and dressing up as ghosts and monsters, while they're doing that and having their fun in that side of Halloween, in the shadows, phenomenal numbers of children are being sacrificed by these crazies, these psychopaths beyond words. And people might say, well, hold on, where do all the children come from? Well, if you perceive the number of children that go missing in the world every year by the number of missing children stories you see on the news, then you are massively, beyond words, missing the plot. Extraordinary numbers of children go missing worldwide every year, never to be seen again, at least officially. Now, not all of those children end up with the Satanists, but a significant number do. And these are where the sacrifices come from. And so often, a lot of these children are brought up in these cults specifically for sacrifice. And therefore, they operate in their own bubble outside of mainstream society, often with the connivance of those in authority who connect into these satanic networks. And so a lot of children that are sacrificed have never actually been officially registered as existing. They have people in these satanic cults they call breeders, women called breeders, who are held in captivity and give birth to children who are then sacrificed, babies that are then sacrificed, sometimes even fetuses that are aborted and then used in sacrifice. I think I mentioned earlier that there are two worlds in our reality. The one that most people perceive to be how things are. But there's another one that is so horrifically different to that, that those in the world of the general population will overwhelmingly say, that's rubbish, that's nonsense, that can't be happening. Because this other world is so dramatically, fundamentally, beyond words different to the world of the seen in general society, that chasm of difference is too much for most people to breach in terms of their perceptions of possibility. And also connected to this whole area of child abuse is this whole paedophilia horror. you.